Hey there! Welcome to the Flute 360 podcast. I'm Dr. Heidi Kay Begay, and I'm a flutist, educator, coach, and podcaster. My God-given mission is to serve you. I am passionate about guiding you, the modern-day flutist, to discover your unique voice on and off the stage. The goal of this podcast is to help you thrive, both as an artist and as a musicpreneur. Go ahead and grab some espresso, your favorite notepad, and let's get to it. Today's episode 291 is titled, The Shortcut to Success. Replicate and Thrive. Hey there, Flute 360 listener. Are you heading to the National Flute Association's Flute Festival from August 1st through 4th, 2024? If so, join me, Natalie Simper, in Soikyam Park on Sunday, August 4th at 9:45 a.m. in room 206B for our panel discussion, which is titled, Be a CEO in Your Career. This session is designed just for you to help your entrepreneurial path. Don't forget to visit Flute 360 at booth 226 for a chance to win our $1,000 raffle package. Enter by 4 p.m. on Saturday for your shot at a flute lesson, coaching session, 6-month access to the Flute 360 Accelerator program, and some awesome swag. See you there. Hey there, flute friend. So today's episode is going to be awesome. This content is to help you thrive on your own career path. And so often, whether it is through the Flute 360 Studio or the Accelerator program, I get to work with flutists just like you. Flutists who are trailblazers, flutists who are trying to find their way, flutists who are carving out their own path, but they don't know where to start. I see you, I hear you, I empathize with you. My path is pretty well defined right now, but there is always room for development. There will always be curvy turns, roller coaster rides. Nothing is set in stone. And so I want to go back in time with you. I want to paint a picture for you. If this resonates with you, if you are on a path and you're like, I don't know which way is left or right, help me. I want to help paint a picture of how it unfolded for me. Now, a lot of you already know my pivoting story, so I don't have to go down that complete rabbit hole. But I want to narrow in and focus in on a time when I didn't have all the answers, when I was forming my own path and I really didn't know it at the beginning. It can be a whirlwind. Don't let that scare you. Please don't let that scare you. If I could go back in time and talk to my younger self, it would be to embrace the messy, embrace the unknown. Because I know you are a classically trained flutist to some degree. Now, yes, there are variations and there are a lot of flutists like yourself who are in improv, jazz, etc. But for the most part, most 360ers are students in academia. They are flutists teaching in academia. They are administrators in the music world, business owners, and the list goes on. So I know there is this drive and need to have all the ducks in a row. And I've talked about this before. If you have been an avid podcast listener, you know that I tell you and I encourage you to embrace the unknown. That's where the magic can happen. But as a classically trained flutist, we were taught fundamentals, musicality, and then you work your way up, right? And then you perform. So it's really mind-boggling, I think, to a lot of us to hear, no, you don't know steps 1, 2, and 3 just yet, and that's okay. Start with the end goal in mind and work backwards. Things aren't always going to be neat and pretty. You have to take messy action. And I know to your flutist ears, this can be rough, but I promise you, it's okay not to know. It's okay not to have all the answers up front. And in fact, that's where life and its beauty lies. If we had all the answers up front, then what fun would that be, right? So anyways, I digress, but I just wanted to lay that out as the foundation and circle back to a time when I didn't know all of my answers for my flute career. So after May 2018, after the DMA graduation, I did what any good student was supposed to do. I started applying to adjunct flute professor jobs, tenure track flute professor jobs. Not that there were many, but you get the gist. I was doing the right thing. I was doing the orchestral path. I was doing academia, etc., right? Those are the two paths that are often highlighted when we are music students in school. And there's nothing wrong with that. But that was our professors and our teachers' reality for when they were students and carving out their own career path 20, 30, 40 years ago. But times have changed. We are in 2020 plus beyond, and things are being mixed up. Nobody's two paths will look alike. You look at the great flutists out there that we admire, right? You look at Emmanuel Pauhud, Amy Porter, Marina Piccinini, other flutists in other musical genres like Kim Scott with the jazz fluting, and the list goes on and on. No two paths look the same. And this is a lesson that I learned being a podcast host for these past 6 years. When I've had the privilege of picking these experts' brains over these past 200 plus episodes, I saw this theme time and time again. So embrace that. I give you permission to get off the page and make something different for your life and for your career. If you don't want to be an orchestral musician, don't be. If your heart is instead of playing principal flute or piccolo in an orchestra, but your heart instead is being pulled towards small chamber music, then do that. And I believe it was specifically at the end of December 2023 when I spoke with the amazing Michael Adaptable, where that's where he was drawn to. And he had the privilege and opportunity to start working and commissioning living composers to write works for his small ensemble group. He goes on tours, he displays this new music, and he's adding new repertoire to our flute canon. And boy, oh boy, I could be here forever talking about the differences between these many, many different flutists, their paths, and what their careers look like. I mean, go back to all of the different episodes that, ring true for you and grab your eye. Interviews with Rachel Omkodong, Marina Piccinini, Catherine Eminent, the list goes on. And you will see that clear distinction that no two flutists are alike. So I say that because now we are going to go get into the nitty-gritty of the topic for today, and you will see how this is all connected. So after 2018's DMA graduation, I was doing what I thought was the right thing. Now, to be fair, I really felt a calling from God to be a flute educator within my career. That was a calling placed on my life at a very young age, around age 13. Then that calling got more defined and more clear when I was in college and graduating in 2007 from the University of Arizona, and I was deciding which path to take for my master's program. And kid you not, God whispered very intimately and very clearly on my heart's ear. He said the word education. And at the time, it meant something to me, and I took a certain direction. Now, looking back, you fast forward 10 plus, 15 plus years later, And now that word, that calling, holds even more weight for me. So I knew being a flute educator was my calling in life, and I embraced it. What I thought that meant was being a flute professor at a university. But God had another plan in store for me. And side note, here's a little coaching tip for you. Make your plans, write your plans in pencil. Because why? Pencil is erasable. Please don't etch your plans in stone. Please don't be so stubborn in a good way and gung-ho that, air quote, this is the only way for me to feel successful and happy. Yes, keep your blinders on towards your targeted goal, but at the same time, I encourage you to embrace flexibility and adaptability when it comes to carving out a beautiful life and career for yourself and for your family. If you are too stubborn to notice the breadcrumbs, to notice the opportunities that are all around you, you could easily miss wonderful, creative, financial opportunities that are right before you. And I don't want that to happen for you. So, as you can see, I'm a talker and I'm going way around the topic and giving you all this context, and it's good. It's all related, I swear. Hang in there with me. I'm getting to my point. So as I was applying to these academia jobs from 2018 to 2020, that's what I was doing. I was applying to these different adjunct and tenure track jobs, and I really felt that's, air quote, where I should be. And I was excited, right? And 2 years later, after an intense job search, I was offered that job. But the pandemic had other plans, and I stayed put in the States with my husband, and we decided to build out businesses for ourselves and for our careers. So anyways, in those 2 years, this is the time that I don't talk about very much through the podcast, but hopefully it will give you clarity for your own path. And for me, how I computed success was I am going to replicate the success of my flute mentors, of the flute professors, of the flutists, of the performers out there who are doing the thing that I so want to do. Let me see what they have done in their bios. Let me see what they have created for themselves. And I'm going to go ahead and replicate that. Now, again, disclaimer, go back to the beginning of the episode. Everyone's path is different. So by no means am I saying to be a true copycat through and through, because I want you to embrace your unique voice. I want you to embrace your unique steps towards your goal. I don't want you to be a copycat and be another blank named flutist. I want you to embrace your own identity and self-worth and put your voice and ideas out into the world, because we need you. We need to hear from you. We need to see how you perceive things. What's your perspective? How do you form ideas and come to a certain conclusion? But I wanted to replicate success. So I had this aha moment. If Dr. Mary Karen Clardy at UNT has that flute professorship that I want for myself someday, what is she doing that I have not obtained yet? If Amy Porter is the flute professor at the University of Michigan, and she has again achieved the goal of being an academic flute professor, what has she done that I have not tried yet? That's the takeaway for today. Look at your flute mentors, look at your coaches, look at your teachers, look at the people who inspire you and have the thing that you want, replicate their process. There is no reason to go ahead and reinvent the wheel, okay? You need to look at their blueprint and process it and lay it out for yourself. And then from that outline, there will be dips and curves and roller coaster rides where then your path is formed and created in the process. I hope I paint that picture well for you. Okay. So if Mary Karen Clardy, Amy Porter, all of these great flute professors had the title that I wanted, what did I need to do to reach that goal? And specifically for me, I noticed that a lot of these men and women had performed and competed at the international level. And at this point in my career, this is something that I had not yet done. I had not gone down the path of international competitions, or really national competitions at that. That wasn't something that was in my vocabulary. And I'm kind of bummed out if I look back at my life and think, oh man, maybe that was a missed opportunity. C'est la vie. It's okay. We move on. But I still had time. And as many of you know, there is sometimes this age limit, right? 30 and under for flutists for this category, for this competition, and only a certain age group can compete, right, for said event. But I found the competitions where that wasn't the case because I graduated with my DMA at 33 years old. So I had to get really granular. I had to really research and find flute competitions and music festivals where there was not an age limit. So I went to a couple different websites. Musical Chairs is a great website. If you don't know this resource, go to it for competitions, festivals, and even job listings. That's how I found my China job outside of Shanghai, China for 2020. So it's a great resource. And I found a couple competitions that worked for me. The repertoire was doable and I could afford it and I could carve out time to enter into these competitions. So in comes the Cluj Clarinet Flute Competition. And I think that competition was definitely in Cluj-Napoca, Romania, but I think it was 2019 I competed there. And anyways, so I put myself out there in a new way that I had never done before. Because again, the Amy's, the Marian Gadigians, the Mary Karen Clardy's, they performed internationally. They were on the international stage, whether it was a recital tour or a competition. So I started competing internationally. And I did that for myself. I wanted to put in my bio and through my resume and CV, this is where I competed, right? So that way, in hopes that if I had obtained this information, the search committee through these different institutions would say, oh, okay, she's checking off these boxes and then some. That was the goal. That was the hope. And funny thing, life is so ironic. I do all of these things, right? Romania comes up and then I decide, okay, I'm going to, thankfully, thank God, I had an amazing, and still do, an amazing flute friend and teacher, Dr. Nabart Galileas. She put together a Greek concert tour for me pre-pandemic, so that way I could beef up international playing at these different venues through Greece. So I did that. I did the international touring. I did the international competitions, and I beefed up my CV that way because I was replicating success. If Mary Karen and Amy and Marianne, etc., were doing this thing, I thought, okay, here's the blueprint, wash, rinse, and repeat. And it was great. Now, the outcome may not have been what I thought it was going to be, but that's okay. You never know what the outcome will be. All you are asked to do is to show up, do your best, put yourself out there, try a new experience, and see what happens. So as I'm beefing up my resume and still applying to these academia jobs, the CV was getting bulked up. I was meeting new people. I was learning a lot about myself. I was having these really unique, beautiful moments that I will forever cherish. And here I am still applying to academia. And sure enough, I don't even know, it was so the pandemic was March 2020 when we all went on lockdown. I think maybe a month before, that's when I found the Shanghai flute professor job for a 2-year contract. I applied, I got it, yay, I was excited. So see, there is proof in the pudding. I was offered a job at a new institution at an international school, and I was stoked. I was so happy that all of that international experience had paid off. But then the pandemic happened, bye-bye job, and the rest is history. So on that trajectory, my thought process and the actual process really did come to fruition of what I wanted for myself and for my career. Replicate the current flute professors. What did they do? What was I missing? Fill in the gaps, do the thing, and get the result you want to achieve. So the amazing thing is, right? Then life takes a funny turn, and then you have to pivot, right? When life throws you lemons, make lemon pound cake. So if you're stuck, if you're like, I don't even know who I am, what my why is, what I'm passionate about, start duplicating, start replicating what others have done before you. Match their voice. And the funny thing is, that's why 360 is 360. Everything is connected. The same is true for your artistic voice as well. If you don't know just yet, if you're early on in your playing, if you're a student, if you are trying to find your artistic creative voice and you don't have that and you haven't honed it yet, that's okay. It's a process. We are going to be developing that for the rest of our lives. Copy the greats. Copy somebody in your college or school or a peer who you really appreciate their flute voice. Listen to Emmanuel Pahud. Listen to Amy Porter on the Telemann Fantasies. Listen to Ron Paul on the Bach Sonatas. Imitate them. Copy them. But at some point, I encourage you to find and hone your own voice. But if you need a backbone, if you need some sort of groundwork laid out for you, start there. And at some point, as you are copying and as you are nurturing your own voice, your true artistic voice will start becoming apparent to you. It will start revealing itself to you. At some point, you're going to go, yeah, she did it that way, and he did it that way. But what if I did it this way? Okay, so let's go back to the career then. I followed their blueprint. It gave me the result I wanted. There's proof in the pudding with that concept. But then I had to pivot. That's when you need to be courageous. I cannot highlight, bold, italicize that enough. Everyone and everyone's career will have divots, curves, and roller coaster moments. So I had to pivot. That's when you have to be brave. That's when you need to show up for yourself and say, yeah, this stinks. I wouldn't wish this on my worst enemy. Because you feel like you're in the dark. You don't know what's up, down, left, right, and you're just like, someone just tell me. But nobody can tell you. They can guide you. They can show you the door, but you have to walk through it. So I laid out a path for myself. I beefed up my resume with international stuff. Great. The box is checked. But what am I going to do now? And what I learned from those 2 years of job searches, international experience, is that I really love traveling. I feel really called to work with people from different backgrounds and cultures and languages. That to me is exhilarating and exciting. And guess what? Full circle. That's exactly what I get to do now through my platform, Flute 360. It's an international stage where we can all build relationships in a community together on this stage from various countries all across the globe. I get to work with flutists from Zambia, Canada, Finland, Greece, Romania, Canada, different parts of the States, and I wouldn't have it any other way. So see how that path and those moments and experiences unfolded in a new and different way that I wasn't expecting. I didn't plan that. I was not expecting that. And you guys know I'm a believer, and I'm just going to throw this out here. It's not everyone's cup of tea, and that's okay. But I just need to be really honest and transparent with you. Thank God that He went before me. Thank God that He knew me and He knew my uniqueness and my unique skill sets for this podcasting platform. I love to share. I'm an educator. I love culture. I love different languages. I love the flute. I love music making. I love teaching. And I thought it was going to be within the institution's traditional walls, but He had other plans. He was molding me. He was using those really unique experiences and carving out a different path for me that I was better suited for, to be frank, actually. There's freedom here. I get to create content that rings true to my heart. I get to work with people who I want to work with. And I love it. I get to create programs for y'all that's new and innovative and something I didn't see for myself, but I wouldn't have it any other way. And you will be prepared for that season, either the season that you're planning for or another season that you didn't even know existed in the first place. I have a past student who is really, really passionate about medicine, health, research in the science area, and the music industry. This past year, we have really worked and molded her path to figure out what is right for her. Do you know what we did? Do you know the moment when she had her aha moment? It was when she was given access to people and picking their brains. I said, you know what? If you want to carve out this science plus music path, we need to replicate success. It's going back to the theme for today's episode. Talk to the musicians, talk to the flutists who are both in the science, research, medicine world plus the music world. What are they doing? What gets them excited? Where is their niche? How did they get there? And more. And by picking their brains, by opening up and initiating a relationship, this is why I am so adamant on networking. By opening up that relationship and that conversation, you can replicate their success to a certain point. Start duplicating what they have done. Did they go and receive a body awareness Alexander technique certification and then added it with a master's in flute performance? Did they get a master's in biochem or biology plus flute performance or music education, and then they carved out said career path? What did they do? Figure it out. What was their blueprint? Don't reinvent the wheel. And then at some point, you're going to hit a crossroad for your own life. You're going to come to the crossroads and go, okay, well, Susan Fain went that way. And she was my guest in episode 1, by the way. She went that way in music therapy and physical therapy, and then later formed an orchestra in Fort Worth for medical practitioners who also play an orchestral instrument. She formed a music science-based orchestra. Those are the unique factors about her career. I don't want to do that per se, but maybe a variation of that. Perhaps I want to create, a music touring business where these science researchers can come together, research on, emotional health, mental health, physical health through music therapy, and have these musicians go door to door and help children in the ICU department. Maybe I want to have this, touring flute thing or a small chamber thing come together and put together on these small concert tours door to door and deliver a music gram to mothers, to sick loved ones who can't go out and listen to great music at concerts. Maybe we can bring the music to them and have these musicians come door to door and put a smile on these people's faces. You never know how then your path is going to unfold organically and uniquely in such a wonderful way. I hope this helps. I know we covered a lot of ground, but the key point is replicate success. Look at your mentors, look at their blueprint, and if they have achieved said thing, which you want to achieve, replicate it to a certain extent, copy them. And then at some point, be brave and courageous to say, you know what? At this point in their career, this was good for them, this was good for Jane or Joe, but now I want to pivot. I want to go over here and explore these options for myself because I am better suited for blank. I hope that this episode has given you confidence. I hope that this episode is going to encourage you to embrace the messy, embrace carving out your own path, and I am so proud of you. If you have not heard it lately, keep at it, keep showing up for yourself, and at some point, you will see the results that you so desire. I will talk to you next time, and thank you for listening. Thank you for listening to the Flute 360 podcast. If you're at the National Flute Association's Flute Festival from August 1st through 4th, 2024, join us on Sunday at 9:45 a.m. in room 206B for Be a CEO in Your Career. Also, don't miss your chance to win our 1K raffle package. Visit Flute 360 at booth 226 and enter by 4 p.m. Central Time on Saturday. Here's to your Flute 360 transformation. Let's talk about flute.